Hello, Year 5 and 6. Great to speak to you all, and I hope you're all well at home. So, our learning journey, Mr. Shaw has introduced you yesterday. We've unpicked your learning question, and you've got a bit of an overview about where we're aiming to get to. Now, as you know, through all of our learning journeys, through each half term, we have a gateway to learning which we're going to be focusing on. Now, we've chosen this one because we think it really links in with the times that we are living through currently and lots of the challenges that we're all facing. Now, if we were at school, we would be seeing this throughout assemblies. We would be seeing that as we're moving around the school, lots of teachers referring to this all of the time. So what I want you to do is be thinking at home, how are you thinking about this gateway? How are you showing some of these key skills that we're going to look at in a moment? Okay, so the gateway that we're going to look at is flourishing. Okay, we're going to be thinking about flourishing. How can we flourish? What does that mean? And this is going to be almost the golden thread that goes all the way through this learning journey. We are not going to be learning about it explicitly within lessons. We're going to be focusing more on the science, but we are going to keep referring back to this. It might be that we're just asking you questions around how you think you're flourishing at home, how you're flourishing within these crazy, slightly weird times that we're living in at the moment, a really important time in history, and it's really important that we're documenting how we are surviving, how we're doing throughout these different times. Now, the sentence underneath says that flourishing is seek a purpose for life, take responsibility for my own well-being and support others with theirs. So that's what we think that flourishing is all about. And what I'd like you to start thinking about today is really, what does that mean? So I'd like to see a definition for flourishing. What does it mean to flourish? What do we mean when we say the word flourishing? What does the word responsibility mean? What responsibility do we have for your own well-being? And what does the phrase or the word well-being mean? What is your well-being? What are we thinking about? What are we looking at? So what I'd like you to do is pause the video here and think about what they mean. Have a look in a dictionary, online, wherever it might be. See if you can think of some definitions of those words, and then we'll get back together, have a look at some examples of those, and then we're going to start thinking about how you're going to be showing, how we're going to be checking at the end whether you have developed in this area throughout our learning journey. Okay, so pause the video here. Okay, great. So hopefully you've got some ideas yourself now about what these words might be. So first of all, flourishing. I found out that actually flourishing means someone who's developing rapidly and successfully. They might be thriving. Okay, so if something is flourishing, it's developing and getting better and better really, really quickly and successfully. Okay, so that's what we're looking for you to do, to develop quickly, to be successful and to actually be thriving. And that's really important in these really difficult times that we're facing at the moment. Now, the next thing I want you to look at is the responsibility. So, responsibility is something that you're required to do as an upstanding member of a community. So something you're expected to do, or you're required to do, as a really good member of a community or of a group of something. So you are obviously members of lots of different communities. You're within your household, you're within your local, your street, that might be your community. You might have lots of different clubs that you go to. You're part of that community. You're also a big part of the school community. And although we're not at school at the minute, we're not in the building, you're still part of that community, and it's still really important that we are thinking about each other and trying to make sure that we're looking out for each other within that community. And the final thing is well-being. So that's a person's health or happiness. So they are the things really that we're looking to be developing over the next 4 weeks with our learning journey. Now, we've got 3 questions that we think will show that you are flourishing within this learning journey. So we're looking at, the questions for you are, How have I taken responsibility for my well-being? So how have you taken responsibility for your own well-being? How have you identified and overcome barriers to your well-being? So have you noticed anything that could be a problem to you being happy and healthy? And how have you overcome that? That might be something you do every single day. It might be something that it may be that you feel really anxious, but you've got different strategies, different ways that you know that you use to make sure that you are overcoming those barriers and that you are happy and healthy. And finally, how have you worked to form positive relationships with a wider world? So, how have you developed relationships with other people that have helped that community to develop, to flourish? So, how have you created relationships with people within school, people within the local area? Have you created relationships with people further afield? Have you, during these difficult times, potentially helped elderly people within your street? I know some of the children that are at school had put letters through the local or the neighbours of the school to say that if they were struggling with anything, that they could call the school and we would be able to support them through that. So that's something we've helped to develop a positive relationship with the wider world. What I'd like you to do is just start to think about how you might be showing some of these things already. And I'd like you to create a bubble map today of flourishing. So, and around each of these, I want you to just try and put some examples of how you have taken responsibility for your well-being, some examples of how you've identified and overcome barriers. So maybe that's to do with your physical health, it might be to do with your mental health, to do with how you stay happy. Any of those things that you do to make sure that you're looking after your own well-being. And then any examples where you think you might have formed positive relationships with other people, okay? Now, some of these, you might have more than others. You might have loads of things, loads of examples where you've taken responsibility for your own well-being, not as many for the positive relationships, okay? That's absolutely fine. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you've got loads for here and not many for there. That's fine. We just want to see where you are at the moment, and then hopefully, as we're going through this learning journey, we'll be highlighting different things that you're doing or the community are doing that you can come back to this and edit it at the end of our learning journey to see how you've developed. Okay, so you'll be hearing from Mr. Shaw tomorrow and me again later in the week. So have a great couple of days if I don't speak to you before then, and I really, well, me, Mr. Shaw and Mrs. Wilson really look forward to seeing the work that you're putting through on Class Dojo, and we'll get back to you later through that. Thank you very much.